And the dog that was excused, obviously, you know, should not have been excused for being, here we go, I'm out of here, in the wrong class, okay? Is there any question about that? Nobody said that that was the thing to do. If you are a judge and judging the open sable and white class, how much importance would you place on any Merle patterning or shadings on a quality entry? I can tell you on this question, there wasn't one mentor that said, gee, the Merling would really get me and I probably wouldn't put it up. It doesn't, you know, nobody. That's not the way people with experience think about this. I mean, is there anyone here who would throw you because you could see that the dog had a little Merling? In your opinion, is Sable Merle a color or a genotype? That is...
That was a rather difficult question.
Silly question.
See, you think it's a color. The problem is, if it's a color, I get what you're saying. If it's a color, Adrian, then how come some of the Sable Merles, does that mean they have no color?
No, it's just that some of the Merle colors don't show up. They've got it, but it's just not visible.
Why are some blues more silver while others have big black spots?
It naturally occurs when you breed different colors together. There's nothing. I just thought,
We have different shades of blues. You know, the real silvery blues versus the ones with the big spots.
You did.
Yes, I did. I just think
You know, it might have been clearer if it said, is it a separate color?
And have
Is it a color or is it a genotype?
Well, when we check it off on our AKC registration, we check it off as a color. The dog's either a sable.
Basically, that is on there so that people can identify.
Tommy, I thought it was there to trip
You
somebody
did?
up. It was a trick type question.
Well, your reaction to it, and I don't want to, you know, these are all printed up. Yours was different than most anyone else's. Okay, how much importance do you think the authors of the standard placed on color? Now, you know, this one, people were like all over the board. You know, it's so hard because you see something a certain way, you really can't help after you have experience for X number of years. And we're asking people with a lot of experience, do we all think the same thing? No. That's right. Do you think the founders of the breed, the authors of the standard, were picturing sable dogs with blue eyes as a possibility when they created the ideal mental image that they described in writing the standard?
No idea.
How would you know?
How would we know what they thought? Unless they left a treatise about it.
You know, and it's interesting how people conjecture about that. How would you know? Unless they were there.
Only God knows what they were thinking. I wasn't there, thankfully.
Would any language in the standard differentiating the Sable Merle from Sable have altered any decision you have made to retain and or exhibit any individual or as part of a breeding program?
Your standard breeders were much more knowledgeable about the genetics of Sable Merle than back 40, 50 years ago. They really thought, I grew up with those, they thought it was defective. Your breeders now know it's not. They know.
Do you perceive there is a lack of integrity or deficit of knowledge in the identification of Sable Merles?
By who?
Not anymore.
Well, yeah, by who?
who?
Do you perceive there is a lack of integrity or deficit of knowledge in the identification of Sable Merles?
Tom, can you reread that identification?
Do you
Which one
perceive there is a lack of integrity
We recognize other people have
or a deficit of knowledge in the identification of Sable Merles. Now, let's look at this two ways, because one way is as far as the breeders go. There was a time when people weren't able to check that little box that Mary was talking about, that yes, this dog is a Sable Merle. So there are people, like for instance, we have someone on our committee who had a bitch that she didn't know was a Sable Merle, bred it to some dog, and got all Sable Merles.
How did she not? You mean she bought the dog?
I don't understand it.
No, she never saw the sound.
Well,
She was asleep when it was
there
born.
were, years ago when puppies didn't go on spay neuter, there was a much greater chance that if you sold the Sable Merle, it might get bred. You're not there to supervise and mentor the people. I think that people now, if they have Sable Merles, you check off the box.
Well, you want to check the box because if it produces a blue Merle someday, you want to have that dog registered and not declared it
Yes.
not purebred.
As far as judges go, I think there is a deficit of knowledge concerning this, concerning also the identification of them, and the way that I think that they need to be educated is that it is not their job to be a geneticist. That is not their job.
That's not what they're judging.
Right, exactly. So what concerns me is when these judges start thinking, oh, they hear something about a Sable Merle, and or a Pat Hastings withholds from one, and then they're talking about it, and then they start looking at all the dogs, and you've got a light sable or a pure for sable, or then you have certain mahoganies. The thing is, the collie standard says from fawn to mahogany. That pretty much covers every possible shade of sable you could get. Let's see. If you are, number 13, if you are leaning toward a change in the standard, what would be the benefit to the breed? If you are leaning toward keeping the standard as it is, please explain your reasoning.
Because there ain't nothing wrong with it.
Number 14.
Excuse me.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
You were on the breeders committee and agreed with Debbie Holland. It should be added in this.
Debbie Holland is right here. No
Yeah, but
change.
Well,
change.
on the breeders education committee with Brenda, I'm just saying that when Brenda asked if there was
Brenda,
anything
right
changed-
here.
Brenda Miramont, I don't know, if there was about 7, 8 breeders, and the question was if you want anything changed on that standard. Debbie Holland was the one that said, if anything, I would like Sable Merle added. Every one of you said I would get every one.
I've never heard of that. Because
Okay.
I don't think.
But I'm just saying,
Well,
I was
what
committee, not one breeder, huh? No, I'm just saying, everyone.
One thing that I have noticed and that I have seen on these will be available, these responses, at the national. Everyone, pretty much, there were a couple of people that didn't want their responses public, but that's their prerogative. It's not that they're not entitled to their opinion, but these will be available because they're very well thought out. People put a lot of time into it, and they have a lot of experience. Let's finish up with this first. If you are in favor of a standard change, please cite specifically the language in the standard